here's the thing, though, Guy, is these last couple weeks, the identity of the Rams, ever since Gurley's knee just, I don't know, stopped working, was changed forever. And they draft Akers, and he gets hurt, so they weren't able to be a running team. The Jags have no identity. This team, while I think when you just say the Minnesota Vikings, most people would be like, oh, they're scoring a bunch of points throwing the ball. They do have, I said this the other day and I was wrong. I said the 3 best running backs were Henry, Jonathan Taylor, and Chubb, depending on the week and some more. Dalvin Cook's right there too. Like, he's in that group. The last 3 weeks, he's averaging basically 100 yards a game on the ground. And he can catch too. But I'm just saying, like, he can just be like, okay, well, let's just control the clock too. Right? We'll fucking run down your throat. And it's not like the Niners, when you watch them, and I think their stats are probably a little better than the eye test of, like, they can give up some 5-yard runs with pretty ease. Like, you can, if you want to just stick to the run, if you got a blue chipper, thank God they're going to miss Derrick Henry. Like, you could probably have some 10-play drives on them.
Right.
I mean, Bosa's his weakness. He's not Khalil Mack against the run. Like, you can run it at him. It's not like a no-fly zone. Like, you can run plays at him in the running game. So it's just, before we even get to their wide receivers, which they got a trio, but their trio, like the Niners trios, are Kittle blocks, but he's not a running back, are all pass catchers. They have 2 wide receivers and the back. And the back is, you can say whatever you want about paying running backs. They paid him, and he clearly is worth, like, no different than Derrick Henry. He's a worthy offensive weapon to make, $12 to $15 million a year. Like, you don't feel bad if he's one of your offensive weapons making 13, 14 million, right?
No. And I think the thing about those 3, their 3 versus the Niners 3, if we said it's Kittle, Debo, and Ayuk, is that what you would say the 3 are? Irony is the run game is such a big part of it, but right now they don't have a Dalvin Cook. Is
Debo.
that the Niners kind of, if they're a little more redundant. It's, if you were to say, like, give me some triplets, you would pick a running back like Dalvin. Is it fair to call, I don't want to call Thielen a possession receiver because he's more than that.
But there's nothing wrong. Like, I mean, I would say Keenan Allen's like the best version of a possession receiver. Like, he's doing most of his work within 15 yards of the line of scrimmage.
And then Jefferson. Like, that is, they each really complement each other. Now, Ayuk and Debo and Kittle also complement each other in part because Shanahan makes it so. But, I do think the group, it's a little different. There's complement each other in a probably a more traditional sense. I don't know if you said I promise you the next 3 years, you're getting 17 games out of that whole group. Like, you're getting healthy Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle, or healthy Jefferson, Thielen, and Dalvin. Ayuk right now is 6th in production among those 6, right?
One thing I will say about Thielen, and, like, if you just got him out running around, he would look the worst of the group, right? He's the slowest of the group.
All I know is DraftKings for the last 2 years. It's just
I just pulled it up. Yes, since Cousins have been there, one thing about, I think sometimes possession wide receivers, like, does he dominate in the red zone? This guy dominates in the red zone. Cousins' first year, 9. 19, 6. But the last 2 years, 14 last year, he has 8 touchdowns this year. So the last 2 years, guy, he's got 22 touchdowns in 25 games. Like, Thielen is a producer. Like, scores point. It's hard to watch red zone all day and not see him come up at minimum a couple times, right?
Yeah.
And he's the second best wide receiver on their own team. That's where Kittle, for a while, it's like the Niners had some red zone issues in the passing game. Like, he should play a big role in the red zone, right? He can box guys out. He can high point balls. Like, he needs to be a guy, in theory, that gets them 10 touchdowns a year. Because a lot of Debo and definitely Ayuk's more than likely are going to come, they can score in explosive plays. Like, if you're at the 5-yard line, throw the ball to George, right? That's what I would just like. They're going to throw the ball to Thielen. A lot of Jefferson's touchdowns, at least that I've seen, I mean, he can score from 50, 30, 20, 50, 100, right? He can score all over the field. Thielen does a lot of his work, like, within probably in, the baby zone.
But he does hit big
scoring.
And maybe this is a function of the quarterback because Kirk just goes over the top a lot. And he goes over the top to Thielen too, right? How many throws from, like, the 35-yard line you see Thielen catching it over his shoulder in the end zone? It feels like it happens a lot.
He's averaging, which isn't, it seems like a lot, like, looking at it, but just 10 yards a catch.
Debo does that plus another 9 after. basically.
Debo's 19 yards a catch right
No,
now.
I don't know. Debo's almost 10 yards after catch. And I think 10 yards a catch. So
for example, Jefferson's 15-9-15 the last 2 years. So that 5 extra yards is a big deal.
yeah, I think what's different about him right now is the Niners just don't. It's hard to know. Like, could you have a more vertical passing game with a different quarterback with that group of Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle? Yeah, John, he is. He's 18 yards a catch right now, Debo. But Debo is almost 10 yards after the catch right now.
Yeah, he's catching.
So he's 10 yards a catch, and then he's another 9 yards after that. That's fucking nuts.
But you get credit for the whole thing.
Yes, I'm just saying, like, that's insane. To have an 18-yard per catch player who you don't have to throw the ball 18 yards down the field to get 18 yards.
Well, the Niners once upon a time had a guy that ran slants to the house. You know what his name was?
No, who? Oh, Jerry Rice. Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge, when you can take slants to the house, then you can have the double moves, the sluggos, the slant and goes. Like, you can do a lot of stuff with that. Devontae against Minnesota last week when they were kind of down. The number one thing when I think with Devontae is like he's going to run a quick out, a slant, and then he's going to break a tackle and get yards. So once he's rolling in middle of the game, they'll do the double moves, and Devontae's like, how is 17 wide open? It's because he puts this guy in like a blender, and the guy falls, and he just catches the ball like that.
Yeah.
So that's where I think if they're going to take deep shots, they might need to pull a couple double moves with their wide receivers because they do run a shitload of slants, right?
If who's going to take deep shots?
The Niners. It feels like Minnesota runs go routes. The Niners run slants.
Yeah.
And like deep ins.
I've been advocating for it. I'm
play?
Knowing that
Special teams?
Yeah. Philly, John. Knowing that's going to be give me two quarterbacks on the field at the same time, Lance and Garoppolo.
Did you see the Arkansas fake punt?
I did see the Arkansas fake punt. That was a great play.
That's all I'm asking for, guy. Great catch too, one-hander.
That was a great play.
It would warm my heart if they just try special teams. Preferably up a score because it's like a dagger move.
Yeah, I agree. Knowing that what you just described, though, is part of what concerns me about this game, is knowing that you might have to ask Garoppolo to do those things. And he has been good. And you mentioned it the other day, and you're right. I mean, he's been accurate. That's not even – if you just watch, you go, there's less – that ball has come down. You know how Brady – I was watching Brady Monday night. Brady throws balls that look like they're going to hit the ground, and somehow every guy catches them like at knee high. Like, Brady really has a downward angle on some of the balls he throws over the middle of the field.
He's also like 6'6".
He is, well, I mean, he's not 6'6".
He's 6'5", isn't he?
He's tall, but he makes a conscious effort, I think, I think he makes a conscious effort to prevent balls getting tipped up over when he throws over the middle. He really seems to throw the ball low on purpose.
Well, think about, like, I bet he'd tell you, where do you think most picks happen? Or tips over, throws over the middle of the field. Most of them aren't like high pointing the ball on a go route and I just out jump you. Right?
Patrick says that's to protect the receiver. Yeah, and that great.
Well, Jimmy has been a double whammy. He got his guys killed and throws picks at the same time.
Those throws are one and the same.
But Cousins will do that as well.
Yes,
a ball will just go over the middle.
And that was my point
on him.
That was my point in the first discussion. Is just Cousins is due. And it doesn't mean it's going to happen this week. I just think they walk a fine line with him when he's as aggressive as he was last week.
I'd agree.
But, I mean, is Jefferson, we already said he's a top 5 receiver, so I don't, it's dangerous. But you know what? Stephon Diggs was great when they played him. He was in that same category.
Well, I think that season he had like 14 touchdowns. It's like he was producing. Their receivers have really produced with Cousins. Really produced. On ways the Niners would die for.
Matthew says, Brady has 5 interceptions, 5 off his receiver's hands. I watch every Bucs play. Well.
I think it happened last night.
Did it?
Yeah. Daniel Jones had about 3 of them.
That game was so bad.
It was a rough watch.
Like, I guess the question is, how many points does it take to win this game? Because they've scored 34, 27. They scored 31 in a loss to the Ravens. Their Cowboys game was weird, 20-16.
Like, if you tell me they score 30, I don't think it's a lock win. They should win.
How many points do you have to, if I tell you they scored 26, is that a lock Niners win? No.
No.
If I tell you the Vikings score
I'd say 49ers 35. I'd feel good about it.
If I tell you, this is a classic Niners the last 3 years. If I tell you the Vikings score 13 points, how many do the Niners have?
I mean, more than like that would feel kind of a little blowouty, maybe 30 to 13
That's right.
or something.
Because the Niners don't play that game 14 to 13. They play that game 42 to 13.
Now, if you tell me the Vikings have 45, I'll tell you the Niners have like 7. You know. Now, if you tell me it's in the 30s, I could see a shootout. But once it gets to the
45
40s,
does not feel like a.
Well, but like they would run out of juice.
38 is where you start wondering.
Steelers Chargers just were to shootout. I think 41-37 was that the final score.
34-31 was the Packer Viking game.
Yeah, a lot of points.
G says who wins the time. Patrick says who wins the time of possession.
I think this one's going to be a lot closer than the previous games.
This is gonna
because if I was the Vikings, I would try to take that away from you. I try to keep you off the field. So Jimmy, your margin for error is smaller.
Well, the Niners' third down conversion rate 2 weeks ago was off the charts. They had some breaks.
My guess is the Vikings, if they win the coin toss, take the ball and try to just go on a methodical drive. Just
they don't want to give,
even if it's a field goal, just take 6-7 minutes. Just control the clock.
Well,
like,
it's a double.
Do this.
I like that idea. It's a double whammy, right? Because we see how Kyle operates at the end of the first half, especially if the other team's getting the ball. Now, I defended it,
Gatorades,
but I think Kyle believes it's a double whammy to get the ball first in the second half. So his opponent should also think so. Most people do. It's not crazy. But a lot of offensive coaches think of it that way. Like try to score at the end of the half, try and score again at the beginning of the half, right? That's not crazy. But
Kyle
I'm with you.
Kyle just wants to get a halftime.
Well, I think he thinks of it like that depending on what happens on first down. Right?
That is
run it, try and break a 12-yarder. Okay, now we'll go. Otherwise,
that's the move of not trusting your quarterback.
Absolutely. This is to me, nothing speaks louder. Actually, trading 2-1s, 3-1s for a quarterback speaks louder than this about what you think of your quarterback. But what Kyle does at the end of halves tells us everything we need to know.
See, but you fall under the sword of that he cannot, like, I bet he knows how to, like, it's not bad clock management. I don't think it's a lock that he knows how to manage the clock because most coaches don't. He goes to halftime all the time with a bunch of timeouts. Like, it's just
I don't. But I know people. There are a lot of people that agree with you on that. I think he knows what he's doing at the end of the half, and I think he wants no part of. And it worked, by the way, for a field goal.
Time will tell once he gets a quarterback that he trusts, because most coaches screw it up. Most coaches are bad at clock management. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, but most of them are just bad at it.